episode of the webinar series Rethinking City. INHAF and its partner agencies have been curating for the past few years. Under this program, multiple urban issues such as governance, planning, growth, development, climate change have been presented. And the webinar series has been captured in over 300 hours of recordings, which is in public domain through INHAF's website and YouTube. Today's webinar is the fifth event of the six-part webinar series called Slums Are Solvable. Odisha shows the way. Through this series, for the past 2 months almost, an attempt is being made to share vision, policies, program, plans, organizational structure, financing mechanism, and implementing experience of a slum upgrading and land titling program, which is currently unfolding in the cities and towns of Odisha. We are presenting this government program through those people and organizations who have conceived, planned, and implemented it. And of course, to the members of the beneficiary communities who have seen and are enjoying a new dignified life in the erstwhile slums. It is a story of a rare urban transformation done through the state government effort and is so relevant, so much upscalable, applicable, and adaptable, not only in India or Asia, but in other cities of the global south as well, that six prominent civil society organizations have come together to co host this series, and that includes UN Habitat and Cities Alliance. As you know, and we have repeatedly highlighted from this space, Rethinking City webinar series is an attempt to take India's daunting and difficult urban challenge to its multiple stakeholders. And it is meant to build a wider societal partnership to address it. The urban challenge is so complex and demanding that no single entity could handle it on its own. It needs a multilateral, multidimensional, and multi-layered partnership. And this webinar series is a mild attempt to taking the challenge to the people, to the stakeholders who matter. For years, we have defined aspects of urban challenge in many ways. This week, two major international events make us look inwards reflectively. One is the election of Johran Mamdani as the mayor of New York City, and the second is the COP30, the meeting of the stakeholders on climate change that commenced in Brazil yesterday. Times of India, while commenting on the event, says the event that is the election of the mayor of New York says, in New York City, mayor is the boss. In Mumbai, she is a figurehead. And that triggers an important dimension of strengthening the local government, the third tier of the government. The mayor is the ceremonial first citizen of Mumbai, presiding over meetings but holding no real executive or financial powers. The state government appointed municipal commissioner holds true authority. Mumbai mayor's duties are symbolic. representing the city at events, but without control over the city's budget or administration. Whereas the Mumbai mayor gets elected by the party corporators, the New York mayor is elected directly by New York City voters in a general election held every 4 years. Candidates run citywide as individuals, not at a ward or a district level. The mayor serves as the city's chief executive, overseeing municipal agencies, municipal services, city budget, and appointments. He appoints commissioners, proposes and implements policies, and holds substantial administrative and financial authority. He oversees nearly all aspects of city life, from police to housing to transport to education and sanitation. The policies directly impacts millions, setting the tone for city governance, and often influences state and national urban policy directions. Well, while granting that the two systems are different and cannot be compared, fact remains that while 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments have faded, the government system development issues are greater today. The second thing that I wanted to mention is a COP30, a key UN climate change conference that is taking place in Belém, Brazil, and is expected to have cities at the center of discussion on climate action and climate finance. Cities are increasingly recognized as critical for implementing climate solutions, as they are on the front lines of climate change and can often move faster than even the national governments. Discussions at COP30 are expected to focus on strengthening cities' role in national climate plans and ensuring they receive the necessary funding and support to achieve their goals. Urban climate action, resilience and adaptation, climate finance and mitigation are the buzzwords now. And cities are important as they offer leadership and scope for implementation because of scale. As we work on India's urban challenge, both the governance matter, as represented by the mayoral position in New York, and the climate change are two major dimensions needing attention. With this slightly longish introduction and remarks, I request the moderator, Dash Saab, to conduct the session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry,
Haji.
I was disconnected for a while.
No issue. Thank you, Atika. We can
Okay,
hear you now
okay.
very well.
Yeah. Sir, friends, good evening, everyone. Before discussing this, let me tell you whatever we have already discussed in the previous sessions. So, in the first session, we had international experiences on the slum upgradation, how the tenure security can be strengthened. And in the second session, we have discussed on the land rights, how the Odisha government has decided to give the land tenure security to the urban poor, and about 2.5 lakh households has already been got the land rights. And in the third session, we have discussed on the slum upgradation and the livable habitat. And in the fourth session, we have already discussed on the slum dweller associations that has been, which has decided as the fourth tier of the governance, and also the other areas where the slum upgradation and other areas we have already discussed. So in today's discussion, we will mainly highlight that what is how to getting into in depth and getting into the what are the areas we have focused and how the slum upgradation entirely has been, all the slums, most of the slums in Odisha has been transformed into the other colony, which are known as the name of the upgraded slums, and what are the facilities has been done. If you will ask a question that if slum upgradation in many of the cities, why it is not taking places, so people will say that it's because of the resources is not available, or because of that, or that there is resources which need to be mobilized for the slum upgradation. But one example one can see in Odisha, without having any additional fund, how the state government has been able to establish a very strong convergence and established a very strong convergence and upgraded the slums, and it has been made at par with the cities. So those are known as the others colonies that I have told. So before getting into the Odisha's slum upgradation program, so I am requesting Sri Anand Iyer, who is the Chief Policy and Insight Officer of Janagraha, to speak on his experiences from the national and international cases. One thing I would say, because Janagraha is a partner in the entire process, and also you have already heard the people from Tata Steel Foundation, you have heard from the Center for Policy Research, and partnering in Odisha with the Odisha government is an honor for all the partners, and it has been redefined, the partnership has been redefined in Odisha. I have not seen such a single meeting in which partners' effort has not been acknowledged. I have not seen such a meeting. Even at the highest level of meeting, when the chief minister is presiding over a meeting also, so state government has given all the, they have given all this became possible because of the partners. So this I have not seen in other states. So that's why I'm saying that the partnership has already been redefined here. So I request energy, so please start and discussion so that it. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Shishir ji and Kirti bhai. Very warm greetings to everyone and namaskar to everyone from India. A couple of housekeeping messages. For everyone who's from the international community, you must pardon my pronunciation of the words from the international case studies. So please do. I do apologize. I've not visited in person many of them. So my apologies for international pronunciation. और हमारे ओडिया मित्रों के लिए केवल एक सूचना कि ये प्रेजेंटेशन मैं अंग्रेजी में करूंगा क्योंकि यहाँ जो अन्य लोग हैं वो कई देशों से हैं, तो अंग्रेजी थोड़ा ज्यादा आसान है और अच्छा है उनके लिए, तो माफी चाहूंगा कि मैं ये प्रेजेंटेशन अंग्रेजी में करूंगा. शिशिर जी, जस्ट अ रिक्वेस्ट टू यू कि at half time if you can please interrupt and give me a ping so that I don't go overboard with the time.
Yes.
Very well. Like you to acknowledge if the presentation can be seen. Just one second. Are you all able to see the presentation?
Yes, yes.
And in slideshow mode as well now?
Yes.
Yeah, very well. Thank you. So, like I said, this is learning from national and international experiences. I'll be a little quick just in the interest of time. So, this is a larger context. This is the universe that slums inhabit. Traditionally, they say 1/4 of all urban residents in all cities across the globe live in slums, which means we're talking about a 1 billion population. That's going to double both in terms of the number of residents in cities like Mumbai. Half the population lives in slums. So by 2030, this is the enormity of the problem. What is the status quo? And I'm just going to do this before we get into the cases. Everywhere we know encroachment and ramshackle construction is what kind of typifies or one identifies slums with. And there are also the perils of informal housing. These perils are that there is a problem around legality of the land ownership. There's a problem that the land is not tenable. It is not good for habitation. When you enter as a resident, you don't know what you are allowed to do or not allowed to do. The house is yours, not, etc. And then there are issues, especially in India and other developing countries. Who are you? What caste? What creed? What religion? What are your practices? All this start affecting your residentship. So your extent universe becomes those of brokers who try and find you some accommodation. Then you get either a very small contract or you build it yourself, for which you get into money lenders, then you get into local leaders. Due to all of this and the tenure and tenability, there is no formal access to infrastructure, water supply, sewerage, electricity, play areas, lighting, common lighting, etc., etc. Psychological, social, cultural, financial, and health stresses. I don't need to elaborate this to my fellows from Odisha here in this call, but I don't think none of us in this call should either ignore or underestimate what I'm saying here about very severe stresses and all emanating from the simple right to inhabit land in their own country or in their own city. Why does the formal market not come in? Because the residents lack documentation, they lack access to credit, which documentation can also give, or your financial records can give. And there is an affordability barrier. You cannot access formal housing. Therefore, the residents are unable to tap into that market. If I am a developer, I will say that the land and permit procedures are too long. There is too much risk working with slum dwellers. And for the amount of effort that I go in and the quality that the government depends on the returnability by the residents, it's a complete disincentive. So it's a non-starter. Therefore, this seminar series focuses on, and my presentation will, the role of the government. There are two models. State has often seen itself as a provider of housing, which means there will be the government will work at its own pace. It will try and find out where public land is available. It will find out whether I can make viable houses affordable in the land at which I have. They will have some building standards to follow, while that may not be the entire aspirational chain for the slum dwellers today. They will house them in some ground plus 35 or ground plus 15 or ground plus 6, extremely narrow corridors, 300 square feet, 240 square feet. Culturally, this is very different from where the residents have originally come from. Severe quality issues in public sector housing and delays. You promise me today, you give it to me after 3 years, by which time many things have changed in my life. So, which is why there is uncertainty, and even after we register for a house, we'll go back to the status quo. State as an enabler of affordable housing is much better. I'm going to just paint a picture. One cannot tackle affordable housing. So I, gently will disagree with the Secretary Mova in the very first episode of this slum series, where one cannot conflate issues around housing to that of basic tenure security and slum upgradation. I, I'm not ignoring all the other issues which are not bold, but I would like us to focus on tenure security, give basic right on the land or property, with or without complete property rights or titling. That tenure security, I feel, is extremely important. The case studies will illustrate that, and Odia and Jaga Mission in Odisha does much better. I sincerely believe the master planning, the construction of the house itself, building construction, providing water supply, sewerage, sanitation, electricity connections, and access to bus stops and other amenities is something that is technical and it can be handled. The basic issue around tenure is what I think we need to address. I'm looking at 4 case studies internationally and 4 studies nationally. How have others addressed tenure? I have dropped Jaga Mission, of course, because I don't think any presentation on slum or affordable housing in India can afford to miss Jaga Mission, but I've got other people much more worthy talking about it. Very quickly, this is where the international case studies that I'm presenting coming from. I don't have time to in this session to do a negative case study, which is the Kaibera slum, upgradation initiative in Nairobi, Kenya. But I would love to engage later with anyone else as to why I consider it negative, though the intentions were pretty much similar to begin with. This is, first of all, an initiative in the favelas of Brazil. The local government and the Inter American Development Bank took it up. It started in about 1994. In terms of tenure, very quickly one can say that one has the right to use. It does not give you the ownership of the land, but at least it allows you the right to occupy and use. And therefore, there has been regularization along with social development that has happened. You declare it as a special zone. You promise against eviction. That is a very big promise that is there. So that's a text box in every slide, and of course, this presentation can be shared. Some highlights, some details. Local community labor is encouraged during the construction. Across phases, nearly 100 favelas were provided with improved services, regularization, safety. And you identify which localities or which parts within favelas and which favelas themselves will you select, consult with the community, develop a master plan, do a technical analysis, and then get into implementation. Simply because of the legal system and what does and does not belong commonly and individually in Brazil, they gave the right to use of land rather than ownership. Special areas were declared, which means the normal bylaws and building regulations do not apply to the favelas. This is very important. Several people have been mentioning this in India as well. There are some limits to this. This has to be very sensitively done. That does not mean you ignore safety, ventilation, and basic hygiene, etc. But you cannot meet the same standards everywhere if you have to meet the same densities. Anybody with 5 years of occupation in the even in the private land received the support and the claims and leasehold titles through possession. If you could show that you've been there, then you could get. Like I said, active community participation helped. Uh, Basic living conditions, basic services were upgraded, and this then spread into Brazil. It went into Latin America. Just the effort involved in the way in going about it in phase one. After phase two, there were considerable changes. Phase three has now been rechristened, currently under implementation. But formal property rights changed to right to use the land is something that we must do without, we must note in the favela program without compromising the outcomes, the ability to live, the right to occupy, the right to raise, and then the right to pass on the ownership and protection against eviction, protection against commercialization from those on private land, which means one cannot sell and change the character of the place itself when one keeps it as a kind of a community is something that happens in Brazil. This is a very interesting case study where for the first time we have what's called community land ownership or the community land trust. It's the first time it happens anywhere in the Americas, though the idea since the 70s was there in Northern America. This is the first time somebody actually used that idea towards towards affordable housing and slums in Latin America. The idea of community holding land or the commons has been as old as humankind and settlements itself. But to bring it to act to this problem is very interesting. What happens is this that you have a participatory workshop. The land belongs to the community land trust. So the land trust takes care. The Cano Martin Peña and the community land trust. That trust provides the security to occupy the areas in the land registry. So the land belongs to the trust. Occupancy rights are validated by an inheritable deed. So which means you can pass it on to your children. It can also be sold or mortgaged with that right while the land is still based with the trust, which means while the CLT itself cannot sell, it can only rent or sell the housing units. But when the homeowners sell the houses, the profit is shared. The land trust plows reinvests the profit back into the community. So that's a very interesting model here. It was actually formalized by law in 2020 in 2004, and it continues today. It's financed today because the community takes the risk. The larger community entity takes the risk. Government is able to give subsidies, donations it can receive from others. People are actually able to invest, bring investments in because they know that there will be a market appreciation, and because the CLT can also rent. Not everybody looks to own houses. Several people, migrants come in just for a few years. They can rent, and that also escalates. So it's a very interesting model here. So first of all, again, tenure security, very successful relocations of communities in terms of within the place. Once you are able to plan the land well, and then you get people improving, being able to improve their lifestyles, their livelihoods. It's won an award with the advisory board. The La Peña Trust has 11-man tripartite board. There are resident trustees and there are elected officials. And this is very interesting. In Odisha tries some of this because you automatically start becoming an important member of the political process as well. So your land trust and your community then starts having its voice in decisions at the city. Uh, the legislation making eligible was reversed because somebody did, San Juan mayor did bring in a legislation, but that was reversed because the community had the voice. And this is an important point I'm going to come later. Communities can do, the strength of the collective is far greater than that of the individual. The resilience of the collective is far greater, and the intentions are the universal intention. So I think there's a great merit here. Heritability, mortgageability, lodging, subletting, everything is allowed. It is just the land that you do not need to claim ownership to. So there's an important difference I feel with Jaga Mission, which kind of focused on land rights or at least land entitlement. Here one says let the land belong to the community, not the city, the community, and the trust takes care of it. So I thought this would be an interesting one to bring here. This is something that is again very well known, and we have Kirtibai here who had a very similar experiment in Ahmedabad with the Ahmedabad Study Action Group, and this is a housing action group in Namibia in Africa, which is the Shack Dwellers Federation. Again, it's community ownership of land and individual shares in plot. But what you do is you allow people to construct and try and reduce their cost in their own ways, and you only provide the loans for any other activities. So this is like a support you are giving while the land basic land aspect is taken care of. You do not need to determine what people will build or how. So the Shack Dwellers Federation of Namibia is the community group, and the Twahangana Fund, it offered very low interest loans for 20 years, which means there is a certain, the tenor of the loan is long because the risk or the underwriting is being taken by the community led saving group, which the government also kind of helped invest in, so that there is a certain risk that is taken away. The interest loan is very less. Okay. The same, in fact, applied to some income generation loans. So both the government and the community could kind of put their money in here. You provide just the land and you give access to subsidized loans, and you allow the residents to be able to construct their own houses and to install the utilities whenever they can afford. If somebody is saying, I don't really need electricity right now, or if I don't need double water connections or a larger set of amenities, services, I may take it at a later date and work from a public toilet or work from a common amenity. So that's perfectly able to, which means a very high, large amount of the community started participating. And this came into the National Development Plan. And they had a flexible land tenure bill, which meant that in the categories, the community also entered as an entity which could own and own. So I think this, I've said this, I think a very big point regarding construction practices is something we've seen in the Jaga mission also. The dwellers in the slums and the informal settlements are the ones who actually build the rest of the city. They build other cities also. They can extremely well build their own houses and infrastructure with support from their own networks. So this is something that and drive the cost down to remarkable levels because everywhere there is an element of profit that is built in when you kind of outsource it to contractors and others. So every step of the process, especially when the government does it, is always laden with some either profits or any other payments that one is required to make. When the community does it itself, it's able to do remarkable cost savings. These figures are available for the Namibia example. The ownership right lies with the savings group. And this is something that I think I'll keep stressing on here. This is Namibia. Finally, I come to a very interesting case study in Thailand, which is the Ban Man Kong project. This is the Community Organization Development Institute. So this is very interesting because they do not work uh, they do not necessarily work from a slum for the slum like the Jaga does or shack dwellers did or anyone. They actually identify the slums in the city, identify the land where there can be good housing, including relocation. That's an important lesson from Thailand, where the community can participate in purchasing or leasing fresh land as well, and then design as you needed, bring in the finance and get the participants. So, which means even the residents in the new place can choose leasehold or they can say, I wish to purchase. So the Community Development Institute is able to also look at where else can I move. And in any internal dispute, the decision making body is a larger one because this works pan city, which means the authorities are part of the advisory or the decision making board, NGOs are there, and several community networks are there. Otherwise, what happens when you work with some favelas or only some areas is that only that community is predominant. You got a larger Kodi, as they were called in Thailand, and they existed, in fact, before this project in another name. They hold the overall decisions of land and community networks in case there is an internal dispute between two members, the larger network, or between two housing, the larger network. Therefore, if you see the photograph, it really looks unbelievable because this is not a slum upgradation project. This is completely fresh housing done by the larger community institute on fresh piece of land and managing in extremely tight situations. So therefore, collective financing, shared repayment helps a lot. You can retain it for about 15 years so that there is no cross ownership and gentrification change happening. The grants go to this community trust or the community institute. Therefore, you get formal access, drainage systems, water supply connections. What it could not do is it could not keep meeting the housing demand. Because, like I said, all these efforts are extremely time consuming, effort consuming. It did relate because of the taxes and the property laws. It did result in a few people accumulating more and more properties within a certain settlement. So that's an unavoidable thing, and the cost of the land did get driven up because of the way in which the program upgraded the lives. But we are now talking 1,000+ projects in 400 cities. So this is a very large scale approach to how one can solve. And this again without the private players. This is a large community led initiative that does this. So here it is. I'm just kind of showing all of this with a kind of a quick capture. Like I said, I'm not covering Kibera in Kenya. Very quickly,
Sir, if
without
you
pausing
can
for breath.
wrap up in next
Adi?
5 minutes, sir. If you can
Oh,
wrap
in
up
next
in next 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Oh, wow, wow. I was hoping half time, but that's okay. I'll go quickly over this. This is the history. This is just to know that it's not as if Indian government has not been doing anything. So I just thought I'd give two slides of what the Indian government has been doing. But one must remember that from a slum clearance program to a slum rehabilitation program, there is a history of about 75 years in India. The two boxes on the side indicate that continuous migration and continuous threat of eviction it continues to date, regardless of the schemes of the government of India. And this is why this session is very important. I'm looking at, like I said, 4 case studies. I will not cover Jaga in Odisha. Aranya is a very interesting program, which is the site and services approach. Again, people like Kirtibai here need no introduction to such an approach. But what the Indore Development Authority did is to take up greenfield land, fresh land, provide only infrastructure and services, give freehold land to all the beneficiaries. They could register with the development authority. Then, through choice of lottery, you pick up the beneficiaries. They first started allotting, but then there was too much demand. So you provide only infrastructure, and the designers, I was fortunate to work with them, Vastu Shilpa Foundation, provided a whole kit of parts. अगर एक ही टॉयलेट चाहिए, केवल एक टॉयलेट चाहिए तो क्या करेंगे, एक रूम और एक टॉयलेट चाहिए तो क्या करेंगे, एक किचन और एक रूम और एक टॉयलेट चाहिए तो क्या करेंगे, ऊपर एक बिल्ड करना है तो क्या, तो entire kit of parts people could build by themselves, and then it is freehold, which means they could sell. So this was a very interesting thing where people did choose from the kit of parts, so the community gets the same sense of building architecture. Material banks were there, material was provided. Very well awarded project. So freehold in greenfield, which means a lot of the residents got an upgrade in life rather than upgrade in situ. This is something again that a lot of people would be familiar with, not in the least. Kirtibai, this is something that the municipal corporation did with CSR funds for slums around a certain area which had a lot of mills and there were mill workers. This is very interesting as well. It's slum networking. It's not greenfield, it's brownfield, but you map the entire slum and you provide the infrastructure services in situ. So this is like a predecessor for Jaga Mission, where again the difference being you don't touch the houses. If somebody wants the houses, wants changes, the help can be given. If you want to add a toilet, if you want to add a room for a son or daughter who get married, the community along with design consultants could do that. But the municipal corporations only focused on providing infrastructure and services. The top line people like Ankita, Shishir will recognize it. Almost reads as if I'm talking about the Jaga mission. Water supply, sewerage, individual household toilets, roads, street lighting, stormwater drain, ये देना चाहिए. The houses you allow the residents to build as they can, 10% only you have to give in order to get formal connections. This is something that was very, very well taken. The informal payments that I mentioned earlier are much higher than such kind of payments. Sadly, and I've brought in the challenges everywhere, electrification reached 25% because of the private electrical distribution. The actual slums in Ahmedabad, only 2% in the whole of Ahmedabad got upgraded through this particular model. But for me, it will always be a sense of regret and wonder as to why we cannot do this across the country. Jaga has been the first mission that proved that the rest of the country is not sleeping. Jaga is now leading the way. I'll just end with a final nod of the head to the private sector. It's not as if everybody is heartless. This is something that the housing corporation in West Bengal did with Shapurji Palonji, and they said, "Can you help me provide houses?" So this is affordable housing in the truest sense, though the beneficiaries came from the slums that the West Bengal government and the Kolkata government identified. And so you cross subsidize LIG and MIG by reserving a part. This is the typical slum redevelopment authority model. But micro housing finance companies came in with loans with a very long tenure, high rate of interest. But what could happen is you're getting an extremely high quality of life. Your access to services, your access to schools, colleges, shops, everything improves. They then came in with a skill development program that kind of helped as well, which means they could set up their own shops and start working with it. So it's a hybrid kind of a project. So this I tried to bring a range from Aranya Greenfield to a PPP Greenfield here. And this is of course the Jugi Jopdi cluster scheme in Delhi, in Kalyanpuri. So dwelling units offered under a rental scheme, that is a very important thing. If you did not have adequate ID proofs, at least you could still continue to rent this, and the program was funded under Rajiv Awas Yojana. So the ULB and the implementing agency could get the funds, and you were given temporary accommodation near Sanjay Lake with very basic uh, serviceable kind of rooms. Then DDA had the land, and you could come back and do give the freshly built houses again. So again, it was community participation plus housing. This that it. I'll just end in 2 minutes. These are the case studies, of course. I think these are the two lessons that I take away very importantly from all my case studies. And this is what I end with. You must have commitment to the public elected representative. And this is despite what we may be hearing later in the day. But you see, schemes are at risk if it is solely in the hands of the executive or beneficiary. Those in Odisha will also appreciate this. If the entire government changes tomorrow, then suddenly things become a problem, though it was never your fault. So unless you have the vision of the leader, and unless you have that being owned by everybody who belongs to that place, elected representatives, there is danger. Community participation and ownership, like I said, because community is much more resilient. Individuals are always occupied in their own lives and their children's care and elders' care. They cannot take all the risks of housing on themselves. So that I think is there, and technical expertise can be got. These are just some bullets. Anyone, anywhere in the world, and this is what I have learned from the case studies, please give some informal, semi-formal, quasi-formal right to live, right to occupy. That I think you must give. Any other conditions you keep, it's okay. Allow the person to inhabit. That allows for some social security. You get a Aadhaar card, you get a food ration, you get a temporary connection. It gives you some credit. I mean, people like Hernando de Soto and others have written on it. Finally, a Jaga mission also will be successful when the children study well, they get good livelihoods, they move up in life, and then the slum becomes a part of the city. I think with all that, no, that first right to exist is the most important thing that I would stress on. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry if I've exceeded the time.
Thank you so much, Anand sir. I think these are very insightful and great learning experiences from other places. And one most important thing that you have told is that how we can bring in the people's participation into the as the core of the any slum upgradation work. And I believe that has been practiced in Odisha, that has been inbuilt component in the Odisha's project. And that's why if somehow it has been successful, it's successful because of the people, not because of anyone else. Okay. So now in this context, now we have Sri Sangramjit Nayak with us, who is our former mission director of Jaga Mission, and he is a retired Indian Administrative Officer Services. We all know him as the Bhisma, the father Bhisma of the Jaga Mission. When he started this mission, and when he left this, how he is also from the outside, he is also observing how this mission is also going on. And one most important thing what I have learned from him is that try to do something. Unless you try to do something, then you might make mistakes, but mistakes you will do, or the right things you will only do if you can try to do something. So on day-to-day basis, we together with all the partner organizations, he has been the instrumental key partnership, leading the key partners in the state. And he was the person who has been very well connected to the field, each and everyone in the slum, and knows the slum in his fingertips. And now may I request Sri Sangramjit Nayak sir.
Thank you, Shishir, all my friends across, and namaste to everybody. And with this introduction and very initiation, which was very heavy, followed by another heavy dose of international exposure and national scene, I will be feeling, I don't know whether I'll step into the shoes in the same manner or not, but I'll try my best to speak from my experience. What I love most is that, first of all, the nomenclature itself, slums are solvable. that is the thing which is, I love it most, because it starts with affirmation. Yes, it is possible to solve them. So with this affirmation, I'll start in saying that we in Odisha, we started with this positive note that it is possible to fight against this thing. And all over the world, there is a rumor, the rancor that slums cannot be solved. It has to be adjusted. But we fight right from the beginning with this nomenclature that slums can be solved. But let me start with Odisha as just a brief background that Odisha is not a very highly urbanized state with only 17% of the population living in the urban areas, and compared to the national average of 34%. But when you look to the slums, you will find that 25% of the population live in Odisha slums, around 20 lakhs. And the national average is 17%. This is a grotesque thing you will find. And the number of slums are 2919. All of you know most probably. And of the 115 urban local bodies, it's a huge problem for last 7 decades in the state. And no one cared for that. I mean, it's not that slum in the state of Odisha was something very spectacularly different from other states or countries. And the cause of the emanation of slums are similar: rapid urbanization, lack of affordable housing, weak urban planning, weak governance, migration, socio-political factors, etc., etc. And also, the living conditions of the slums in Odisha are also no different. Their life is unorganized, and temporary, dilapidated structure, all the same everywhere. There's nothing different. But what is different is that the approach to solve this problem, with one man at the top and the government at the top, thought that this is solvable. That's the reason somehow it is different from the rest of the world or the country or other states. On a very fateful day of 10th of August 2017, the government thought that we ought to have a cabinet meeting where we'll try to solve this problem head on. And ordinance was passed, and this ordinance was named the Odisha Land Rights to Slum Dwellers Ordinance. And then after a month, the rule after the ordinance came, and the act itself came after 1 month. On 16th of October 2017, the Odisha Land Rights to Slum Dwellers Act came. That is an act which probably opened the eye of the whole world that in situ settlement of land in favor of the persons living in the slums is possible. And what is that? What is, after all, that the intent of that in the act itself? The intent is that it's a first entitlement of land to the slum dwellers, which makes them the owner of the land, and it makes them the owner of the land which are heritable and not transferable, and it can be used as address proof if the land certificate is given. So with this, a lot of activities inside background it went on. I will not describe because it has been described in tandem for one or couple of occasions in this series of meetings. But to say that this concept of land settlement started in the year 2017 in all the slums of the state, in notified area councils and municipalities. And uh, with this, we got the experience that this is also possible to be solved, in the corporation itself. So we got a vent that Corporation Act has got the provision to give them piece of land, and we amended the act in 2022 after the coming of the end of the COVID. And ultimately, to sum up, we said we have already given 2,64,000 land certificates to the people, entitling them to stay in the place where they are staying for long time. So it is a settlement of land for in actual possession, and it is a land only to the people who are eligible for that. This is heritable, mortgageable, etc. I'm not going to enter into that because the mandate for today's discussion is very limited. That how to upgrade the land, how to give them a better piece of living for the persons living in the slums, slum upgradation. And the Land Rights to Slum Dwellers Act 2017 came up also with the provision of the enhancement of the standard of living of the people, with which facilitates redevelopment, rehabilitation, and upgradation of the slums. So when the first part of the land entitlement portion was virtually going to be over, the government thought that giving a piece of land is not the be all and end all, and it's not a solace to the soul. What we should do is that we must provide all the conditionalities that is required for a better living in a slum. So uh, the Jaga mission came after a certain time, after 8 months of initiation of this program, on 7th May 2018, Jaga mission as an institution came, a mission common institution, which started to not only things in terms of giving land rights to the slum dwellers, but also provide the other conditions which will make the life a better one, a livable one. So the what are the conditions which makes the life in a slum settlement much better than what they used to have earlier? These are the a slum is rather defined all over the world for the absence of certain thing, not the presence of certain thing. The absence of these things which you see are the conditions you call it slum. Whatever name you call it, the slums, salos, the shanties, ghettos, whatever it is. But these are the conditions which are not available, for which you call it a slum. Now, the government at that point of time thought that we have to provide these conditions which need to be fulfilled to make the life a perfect living condition, because an urban area is virtually a sort of urban divide. The 25% of the urban divide is not getting the desired conditions of life which the 78% are giving. So that's the reason the government thought that we should give all the conditions that are required for a better life. First is land right to housing, land rights, which I have already touched upon that it has been given in the first to 2.64 lakhs population. So this is the first thing. Then housing support. As Mr. Anand was telling, at least 10% of the population or the household has to be given some sort of support for housing, because already they have got housing, good houses also, but where there are no houses, but the lands are not available, and that's the reason they were not constructing. Around 40,622 numbers of PMA houses was given to them. So this is the first step, that land rights with the housing support was given to them to make their life better, and a sort of assurance that you are not going to be evicted, because life matters. Land doesn't matter. What matters is life. You settle there, you stay there. Piped water supply, and this is the first place in the whole world. Each slum has got one tap water connection everywhere. Around the state, if you go around the state, you will not find a single house which is not connected. I mean, I'm not talking about the slums. All household in the urban areas of the state of Odisha is connected. So 100% water connection was given. So Jaga Mission talked about land rights, pipe water supply, but the third most difficult thing that probably has played hide and seek with us is cluster toilet or the household toilet. That I will come to later, why it is evading the solution. But in-house electricity connection, Mr. Anand was telling it's a problem. Yes, it is a problem everywhere in the country, but in Odisha, all the households in the slums are virtually have got electricity connection, each household. That is a credit to the DISCOMs, to the authorities, to the Jaga Mission people, and paved roads, which probably is a thing which we wanted, that all the small roads inside the slums has to be paved one. Then stormwater drainage, this was done. I mean, stormwater drainage is a challenge everywhere in the country, in the whole world. But slums in Odisha try to counter this problem through the saucer drains, small drains, well-lit connections to the main drains, etc., etc. Somehow, some sort of the outage of the extra water that is possible, that was being done. Street lights. virtually 9,000 numbers of street lights were given to the 3,000 numbers of slums for the first time in the state of Odisha, and it is well lighted. It is well illuminated as per the requirement. And what gives satisfaction is the construction of community centers, is the parichaya, or a place. It's a multifaceted community hall where the women can have their meetings, their entrepreneurial activity, every type of activity, and then open space for, like the counterpart, we call it a park, but its open space is nothing but a lawns where people stay together, walk together, talk together, sit together, and a child play with instruments which has been fixed by the Jaga Mission. The whole work per se has been done, given to the Slum Dwellers Association, and in conjunction with the Slum Dwellers Association, this work has been done. So let me tell you that how was it possible that this work is possible? This is possible because of the Slum Dwellers Association. SDA is the backbone for which these all activities have been taken up, and they have tried to do it. A slum upgradation program is not a program, weird program of taking either one program, the other one program. No, it's a very synchronized program for which the standard operating procedure was launched by the Chief Minister on 28th of September 2020, and a core team was done in each of the urban local body, headed by the ward officer, and the SDA took up the work of the identification of the things which are lacking in the each slum. Out of 9 verticals, what is lacking, they have to identify. That is called the PMA, or participatory network. And then IGAP, they could then they found the infrastructure gap. When they could find the infrastructure gap, the work was given to the Slum Dwellers Association, and they did it. And after the work is over, it goes for delisting. Slum delisting is a process for which a long SOP has been drawn, where the work is over. Then the Slum Dwellers Association applies to the urban local body that, look, I am no more a slum. Please take away the tag of the slum, and I am equal to any of the part of the city. And the delisting process starts. So infrastructure gap study with the participatory need assessment are 2 of the requirements for which the Slum Dwellers Associations are responsible. They're responsible for execution, and they execute the work as partners or at the executioners. Whatever possible, they get the work in their name from the urban local body, get the money. Otherwise, they get the money as the person assisting the urban local body. So one of the most important question that's being raised, talked about everywhere, and also Shishir as a moderator has asked me to tell something about the funds availability for this. Let me be very frank with you that fund was never a problem for us, because 25% of the population living in the urban local bodies are entitled to get 25% of the fund that is available to them. For last 70 years, none has seen to the slums as a place where one should invest. So they were not getting any money for long time. So we made an amendment both in the Corporation Act and in the Municipality Act that 25% of the fund has to be earmarked for the slum from each source that is coming to the urban local body. Say the own sources of revenue or OSR, 25% has to be earmarked minimum. Then the developmental funds, like erstwhile developmental funds like Unnati, Mukta, or whatever it is, 25% minimum. Then all the Government of India funds, that is the Government of India funds like Swachh Bharat Mission Fund, and the fund from the 15th Finance Commission or the 5th Finance Commission or the State Finance Commission, 25% has to be earmarked for that. Then Poor Welfare Fund. So what I mean to say that fund has to be is never a problem area as is being discussed around the country. What you mean to say that if you are 25%, you have to make an amendment in the Municipal Act and the Corporation Act, or any sort of direction has to be given from the top that you are bound to spend that much of money to that. So what is required is that is a 74th constitutional amendment talked about participation. Here in the slums, participation through the Slum Dwellers Association is of real importance. They acted as a bridge between the urban local body and the slum dwellers. They work in being identifying their problems in the participatory need assessment. They did the IGAP. They are the implementing partners. So they pass the regulation for any work. They maintain the register, and also they manage the community. See the type of the work has been done and the assets have been created. So naturally, the Slum Dwellers Association are the organization that has been developed through the process that they're supposed to maintain it afterwards also. Now, empowering SDA is one of the thing that we could understand, and we also made the amendment that the fourth tier of the government, they unless and until you take care of the slum dwellers, make them, empower them. So once you empower them, the journey from just initiation from it took a long journey from community participation to strengthening the bond. Its entrepreneurial livelihood skills were promoted, political empowerment was made, financial empowerment was made, and then community participation was encouraged and ensured and assured. Then awareness programs were made, community mobilization was made. So lot of activities through the SDAs has been made. So achievements have been possible to be done in the Jaga mission because of the SDA, the participatory management, the involvement of the CBOs, the NGOs, the women, the people at the cutting edge, and the achievements have been huge. Land entitlements have been given to 2.54 lakh of the population, which is a huge number. 40,000, more than 40,000 PMI houses. Then we have been able to develop around touching around 1,700 numbers of others colonies out of 2,919, and it is because one of the vertical that could not be satisfied, that is I left, it is cluster toilet or the Mo toilet. That's an area where we are finding it very hard. We have tried all the 8 conditions except in this. This is the area where we are trying to work on, and this government and this set of workers along with Shishir and Ankita and etc. This they will work on this, and all the slums will be de-slumified, and huge work has been done. So the issues and challenges could possibly be countered because of the involvement of the common citizens of the slum dwellers. But apart from that, what is most important that the partnership was great. What Shishir was telling is correct. It is because of the partnership this Jaga mission was possible to be taken up, and it's not that government has done everything. We have got a brilliant partnership in Tata Steel Foundation, Tata Trust, Janagraha, Norman Foster Foundation, CPR, Cadasta, JIZ, Spark, TIS, Indian Housing Federation, etc., etc. These are because of these people, their knowledge partnership, their involvement, their enthusiasm, their hard work. Government has been able to do these things. Because of this, these recognitions have come. So I'll not be taking much time, but I'll say that it's not out of wind that things can come. You have to use your mind that policy has to come. Land Dwellers to Slum Dwellers Act 2017 has come. Amendment to Odisha Municipal Act 2023, it has been done. 25% of the urban poor fund earmarked, and a direction that no urban local body can spend less than 25% in the slum areas. So this was also amended. Participatory upgradation of slums, delisting procedures, declaration of the Slum Dwellers Association as the 4th tier of the government, forest land diversion cases, relinquished of land. So a lot of policy initiatives were taken, and that's the reason for which this is also aligned with the SDG, and we tried to relate it to the huge work of the SDG, our commitment for goal number 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11. We are able to achieve this. We never knew that we are going to achieve it. But after this, we could read that these things have been achieved. But I will not take much time. This is my last slide. See these learnings, empowerment over eviction. We wanted to empower our own people, our own brothers and sisters who are the backbone, who are living in the slums, and don't try to evict them. Empower them, because they are only holding 2% of the geographical area, whereas the 98% of the geographical area is captured by all others. But why do you evict this 2% of the population who are doing the necessary works in the? So we loved them and wanted that you should stay with them. Stay there where you are there. In situ settlement, that is, making slums a livable habitat through Jaga Mission, we have done it. That's what I said. Participation and partnership. I already said women and transgender empowerment. So this empowerment is possible because willingness came forward from that side. You create a conditions where it will be forthcoming from their side, and convergence the funds I've already told. Collaboration with quality organization. Only quality people, quality organization will make you feel that things can happen with scale and speed, as has been mentioned, and it is aligned with the SDG. I'm not taking much time. I'm finishing it because you have given me this time much of time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity for coming to you and describing my experience in a very short time. And it's a huge acknowledgement of the work done by Jaga Mission and the government of Odisha and partners. And thankfully, I was a part of them, and mentally, I'm still continuing to be a part of them. Thanks, Kirti sir, for giving the opportunity. Anand Babu for coming to us. Shishir Babu for moderating this. So I hope I am still mentally with you working, and thanks for giving the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you all.
From Mangala Sai, and he has actively participated and contributed in the upgradation of his slum into a others colony. I would request Arjun Bhai to share his experience, and happy to go. Yeah.
प्रथम
Arjun Bhai,
नमस्कार
हाँ.
नमस्कार जहा हूँ आज ये जो मीटिंग रे हमें बस बहुत दिन पर हमें खुशी लगुच समस्त को धन्यवाद देवी जे कि बर्तमान आम साहिर जहाँ थिला बहुत डेभलप हो सारी आम जिते आसी ये बस्ती को 1999 मसीहा बात्या से साहिर कौन सुविधा नाला ना रही घर थिला ना रास्ता थिला ना पानी सुविधा थिला ना आमको इलेक्ट्रिसिटी व्यवस्था थिला आमे सेठी पॉलिथिन टांगिकी सेठी रहिथिलु माटी घर तो दूर कथा पॉलिथिन गोटे गोटे बाड़ी लगेकी रहिथिलु धीरे 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 कष्ट करके माटीर घर करथिलु रास्ता बहुत कच्चा थिला बोधे आमर आमको कहीं सहयोग करिया नथिले आमे कोन करथिलु जहाँ दरकार होतला एरिया रो जे अछंती अथॉरिटी जे अछन ताको सहित आमे जाई कथाता करथिलु किंतु आम साहि रे सब मासरे गोटे मीटिंग करथिलु सुविधा असुविधा पाई जिते जहाँ असुविधा होता आम नोट करूँ नहीं कि आम अथॉरिटी को जनाऊँ एमती धीरे धीरे चली किंतु जागा मिशन को मुझे धन्यवाद देवी जिते आसिले 2017 मसीहा से आम साहि ना इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सब कंप्लीट थिला ना आमर रास्ता कंप्लीट थिला ना पानी पीवा सुविधा पानी थिला किसी माने बहुत असुविधा थिला जहा हो धन्यवाद जे आमर जो अलिया आवर्जना गधा होता से आमर परिचय गृह हो जोटा कि आमर से जगार माने जोटा कि आम बसिया गोटे जगह नाला आम से जहाँ परिचय मिली गोटे ता सहित फेबर ब्लॉक रास्ता मिलला ता सहित आमको फ्री फ्रॉम टैप योजना रे आम पानी पाइलु टाटा ट्रस्ट जो आसिला जिते भी आमको बहुत जो आम टॉयलेट रो सुविधा कर देथिले समस्त घरे पर्सनल टॉयलेट करई देथिले ता सहित बीएमसी जागा मिशन बेसिकी आमर बहुत गुडे डेभलप भी करिसथि जाकि आज आम जो बसी परिचय गृह रे आम बसिसथि ये जगहटा आमको सेठी ठिया हवा योग्यता नाला तेणु धीरे 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 जागा मिशन आपणकर विभिन्न संस्था सहित आम जड़ित हवा द्वारा आम साहिर बहुत डेभलप होती जे कि माँ मंगला बस्ती माँ मंगला विजु आदर्श कॉलोनी परिणत होता सहित 2023 मसीह आमको एलआरसी माध्यम आमको सरकार गोटे जागा मिशन थ्रो आमको गोटे गोटे पट्टा देछन जोटा कि आमर गोटे लैंड राइट सर्टिफिकेट से लैंड राइट सर्टिफिकेट को बर्तमान एवं आमको पीएमआई योजना सामिल करुँच जहाँकि आम ये रहीकि आम निज घर तैयारी करें जहाँ भल माने आमको आमर बहुत अपग्रेडेसन हो आम ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो साहिर आम कच्चा रास्ता पक्का रास्ता पाइलु पानी पीवा सुविधा पाइलु इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पाइलु टॉयलेट सुविधा पाइलु ड्रेनेज रो जो आमर जो अच्छी जोड़ा वर्षा पानी आसुला ड्रेनेज रो सुविधा पाइलु बहुत गुड़ाए सुविधा आम पाइचु जे कि आम जागा मिशन द्वारा आम बहुत उपकृत होइछु ମା ମଙ୍ଗଳା ବସ୍ତି। ଧନ୍ୟବାଦ ଦେବି ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ, ଟିମ୍ ମେମ୍ବରଙ୍କୁ ଆଉ ସରକାରଙ୍କୁ ମଧ୍ୟ। ନମସ୍କାର।
Namaskar, Dhanyavad Arjun bhai. So I can translate the voice of Arjun bhai, what he mentioned. So Ajay, he was telling that though we are living, it's been 30 years we are staying there, but we were living in a really unhygienic condition in the slum area. Also, there was no space to sit together and discuss. Now we have although we all were meeting together among ourselves, but we did not have a chance to meet the officials and how to take the things forward, though we know that we are not living in a livable condition. Now with through the Jaga mission, formally the Slum Dwellers Association been created, and they got a forum for they conduct the monthly meeting every month. There they discuss their slums need, the issue they are facing, and how to solve that. And apart from that, also you was telling that earlier the roads were not good, there was no pipe water connection, we had to bring it from far. Now from drink from time mission, every household have the pipe water connection, they have paver block road. The place where they used to use for the dumping of the waste garbage, now that place has been transformed. There they have constructed their parichai, like the micro activity center, one of the component which Mr. Sangramjit sir was telling. And they are living in a healthy and hygienic condition. They are very so happy for the missions. Happy for the missions and the team. He mentioned about the partners they are working with, Tata Trust and all. So with them, they are leading a happy and healthy life now. Thank you, Arjun bhai.
Ankita ji, if Das Sahib is not able to connect, shall we ask Srinivas Sahib to start his presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Srinivas Sahib, I think once you start, I think, because it appears that Shishir Sahib has lost connection.
Yeah.
He probably will join, but you kind of start that.
Okay.
I would request Srinivas sir to let me introduce to the forum that Srinivas sir was he has been like it's his 30 years of career in the municipal service. He was the executive officer in many places, but today he will speak about his experience in Konark NSC, which was one of the pilot ULG in the Jaga mission, where we started our land rights program and also the slum upgradation thing. So he has great contributed a lot in strengthening the community in Konark, and how to partner them with the urban local body and work togetherly for the betterment of the society and the success of Jaga mission. I would request Srinivas sir to share his experience on in his NSC.
Good evening, sir, and welcome to all the members. I'm really happy that Kirti sir has given me an opportunity to speak my experience about this. And as already Shishir sir has told, my esteemed director, ex-director, who is known as Bhishma Pitamaha for this project, I can say he is Dronacharya for me. He is the guru of my for everything. And as you all know, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. So many government programs are going, and government never see any. Government never feel that we have done something. But I can say honestly, sir, in this project, a pilot project which was done at Konark, I enjoyed it, and I did what our director and what our government wanted to prove. First of all, sir, the people, as my ex-director was stressing upon the community level of thinking. We used to go to the community, and the community always thought that government will not give anything. It is their habit that government will do. It is only for a time period. Then it will vanish, or this project will go. Nothing will happen. They will suffer like this. But this is the project where the dream has come to reality. I can say honestly. And with the community, I can say with the community, when you conducted the meeting, and as my director always emphasized that, don't say that we will give what they can give us to. So we always tried because they are staying in that slum nearly 40 years, 30 years, what they can do, we wanted to explore what they can give to us. First of all, the community has given that community level meeting, the strengthening of the community, and each member of the family has become a member. And the women, as my director was emphasizing, the women members were given the priority. Because as we all know, the government is focusing on the empowerment of women. Here we have focused the empowerment of women here only. And they themselves decided what they wanted to do. And that has become a plus point for us. Secondly, as my director already, and my government during that time, they did an act which is for every government thinks to every government wants to clear the slums. They never thought of what are the difficulties they are living and what they want. In this project, we wanted to give what they want actually. And honestly speaking, with their meeting, we saw, because as they were staying in that area for last 30, 40 years, a kind of secure, because in that place they are not secured, because the place belongs to government, or it is a land where nothing was there. They constructed a house which is a thatched house, and they were given that land rights and that land entitlement, which is a great thing for them. A kind of belief they have received that the land where we are staying, it will be our. Now they have decided in which they are staying, what they need. The basic need is that road, then electricity, then water, like this. As already my esteemed director pointed out, that 9 verticals, that Navaratnas, all the verticals we have focused according to their needs. Always we have seen that the government schemes, the way after a policy decision, it comes from top to bottom. Now here the community, whatever they suggested, we did in that way only. And we seeing that communities need, the need-based approach was given priority for this project. As a result, the people have developed a confidence, and they used to participate in everything. For example, in that Konark area, near seaside, 654 families were staying for last 60 years. And it is purely a thatched house. They never thought of a concrete house. So after identification, the drone survey, which was the first time our government has did. In that drone survey, we pointed out how many houses are there. According to the drone survey, how much area they have occupied. According to the area, what are the things we can do. And we told everything to the community that this is your area, this much of the family there, what we can do. And as a result, people also participated that they are ready to leave for construction of road. As my ex-director was telling that the nearly seashore side, nearly 60 families vacated their house because they were staying very nearer to the sea and came to another area which is within that area, and that area was very dirty, and all the people of that area came and they participated. The area was dumped with all sand and the soil. Then there we constructed new houses, and while before constructing the new houses also, they themselves, the community decided which house will be them. Suppose always you see in their community, they always fight each other, but the community people have participated in such a well manner, they themselves decided, they wrote it, they passed a resolution, and with the resolution, it was discussed in the meeting, in the SDA meeting, and if the SDA meeting passed, it was discussed in the council meeting, and as government also emphasized that all the development schemes and the money in the municipal budget, 25% of the money will go to the slum area. So it becomes easier for us. Absolutely, there was no problem for the money, and we could able to do the developmental aspects work, which has to be taken by the government or local body in a very easy manner. And for their children also, the school building which was in a very bad condition, we repaired it. They don't have any community hall, and as we have pointed out, a parichaya, an identity, we have given to them, and the water facility to each house connection, which was also given, and the electricity to given to all the families. So all the community members also express their happiness, and also they used to decide what in every month they used to decide what more has to be done in that area. And we have also observed this women group also. We have developed the thrift and credit society among themselves. As a result, the poor women also started lending among themselves and got bank loan, and they are doing their business also. Generally, selling of eggs, selling of vegetables, small battle shop by the male people, and some cycle repairing shop. Then nowadays, one fellow who have passed, we have given a loan to the mobile repairing shop. So a holistic approach has been taken to that community level. As a result, the community could able to see that the progress and also their self-development. This much which I experienced, and I am privileged to work under such a dynamic my mission director, and I am happy, and still I am working with some slums where people are still remembering us because we have done some good work. They remember us, and they are also carrying it forward, and they came to know what is their demand. And one thing which is very important, always my mission director was stressing us, it should not be a government program should not be a supply oriented, rather than it should be a demand oriented, and the community has to, if it is a demand oriented, the community has to also give a small contribution. As a result, they can feel that it is their own, it is not government's, it is their own. this much, which I want to. This is my experience, which I want to tell. I am really honored to speak regarding this, and thanks, sir, to giving me this opportunity to speak before you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, next, let me introduce Ankita, Miss Ankita. She's a manager and state program Odisha at Janagraha. Over to you, Ankita, and welcome.
Thank you, Jasna. Give me a moment to share the screen. Hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Jasna. I would also like to thank Srinivas for setting the context and sharing the broader perspective of the mission. Building on that, I will be sharing the on-ground perspective, how this mission translates from policy to practice through the lens of participatory slum upgradation, the challenges we faced, and how community ownership become our biggest strength. Every slums transformation story in Odisha begins and ends with people, their participation, their ownership, and the leadership. Community participation is not a symbolic step in this process, rather it drives every stage, from planning to prioritization to execution and maintenance. Residents are no longer seen as the recipients of schemes, but as partner to the implementation. This shift had changed the entire development dynamic from government-driven to community-led. For instances, STA have taken charge of identifying the issue, supervising the work, and maintaining assets post-completion of the work as well. Traditionally, urban poor communities were seen as the beneficiaries of any government schemes are there, and they are the passive recipients of the government welfare. Jaga Mission turned that narrative around by recognizing the slum dwellers as the co-implementers. My co-speakers all also had mentioned it, that the dwellers are the implementation. They are the partner to the ULB. This recognition is built the dignity, accountability, and confidence within the community itself. When communities own their development, sustainability follows naturally. So if we will see the institutional framework, how it has been throughout the working function, then of course the Housing and Urban Development Department is there at the state level, who decide the policy, who form the policy, budget and convergence. Of course, as this I mentioned before, convergence was the key to the mission, because all the infra and services we are speaking about, the 9 basic infra and services, those are every government's mandatory, every government's main aim is to provide that service and infra to each and all the one the person lives in the city. So slum dwellers should not be left behind. So if the but after that also, if any ULG has any issue, budget provision was also there at the state level. So how much would be that budget? How the SOPs has to be very many SOPs has to be developed. How that if required aids are mentioned, many policy level intervention was also met, and that happens in the HUDD level. ULB level, of course, they are the ground implementer, co-implementer, we can say, and the fund release from state. The fund goes to the ULB, but the as we consider ST as the implementer, from ULB it should go to the mandate of the ULB is to release the fund and get the work done. Slum Dwellers Association were the implementing partners, starting from the identification of the gap, then the how to mitigate that. And as we mentioned, the 9 vertical were there, but all the decision, all the gap that was coming from the slum dwellers in co-participation with the ULG. And the authority, final authority was a urban area slum rehabilitation and redevelopment committee at the municipalities and NSAs. Those are the tier 2 and 3 cities. And for the bigger cities like the corporations, slum development and rehabilitation committee were there. those committee were the final authority for the decision of any kind of work that happens in the Jaga mission. So decentralization, I would say, a key. Though in the state level the policy was formed, but the decision who should be eligible for what or who should be the beneficiaries always lies on the committee, and which is also a very diverse people. That committee is not like any executive officer or mayor or collector will do that. That committee comprises of the district collector heading that, and the executive officer, someone from the child development WCD department, the CDPO, someone from the police department, someone from the education department, then the local CSO, slum dwellers also the partner to that committee, and that is the decision making committee. So that it should not be like forcing something, but to observe the ground reality and take the decision. I will take some time to describe the end-to-end process and how it is participatory and why we're saying it participatory. So it starts with identification of the slums. Sangramjit talked it briefly. I will take some time to explain it. So whenever we are saying that identification of slums, it comes to mind. Ek Jaga Mission launched in 2017. It's not like before that there was no slum count or there were no slum. But slums is in very dynamic in nature. Every day a new house get constructed in any of the biggest city, and next day and it grows and grows and form a slum. So we, through the mission, it started that the starting day of the mission, how many slums are there? It doesn't require any notification or covered under census. Rather, if anywhere people living in a unhygienic condition, group of people living in a unhygienic condition, mostly of temporary structures, would be considered slum, and it should be listed under Jaga mission. So that's how it happened, and it was done by the urban local body officials. Then the need assessment, participatory need assessment happened. So whenever it's a common trend and the tradition is anything that happens in the city, officials goes or engineers go, they feel like their road needs to be laid, their drain needs to be laid, and they do it based on the technical feasibility. But here the need assessment happened, and it started with the people from officials. Of course they were there, but they did it with the Slum Dwellers Association. What is the need of their area? And based on that, they also supported the ULG official, also supported the ULB to prepare the infrastructure gap. Of course, in the ULB, when we, of course, in any cities, when we go and start with, we find out many gaps, starting from the garbage collection, starting from the road sweeping. But the infrastructure gap which needs to be covered first was given the priority, and Slum Dwellers Association along with the ULG official did that. So after that gap, the ULG officials, mostly the engineers of the ULG, they prepared the budget and estimation, how to do that, and tag it to the financial resources available in the ULGs. And after a preparation of the budget, the work order get issued in the name of the Slum Dwellers Association if the project work gets less than 10 lakhs. Because also the construction need technical supervision, it comes to the mind when we say the work order, we give it to the Slum Dwellers Association. But then the thought came mostly, or if we will see on ground or in practice, the mission, the labor who does the work in ground are the people who lives in the slums. So they know better how to get it done, but the technical support which require the laying out, the survey, the measurement, that requires ULG support. So if the projectors get less than 10 lakh, the work order gets issued in the name of the Slum Dwellers Association itself. And if the project gets high in cost or more than 10 lakh, then the work order gets issued in the name of the engineer itself, and Slum Dwellers Association became the implementing agency to the urban local body. So in this way, there was no contractor involved in this whole construction or whole of the process. And one way they are getting the infrastructure are getting better. Secondly, they also get the livelihood support. And it started in this corona era, so people were really in a vulnerable condition, and going out was a there was no option to go out and work. So there they were working in their own space. So they were getting their labor charge as the and livelihood support. And Slum Dwellers Association also was getting some supervision charges as their livelihood for supervising of the work, and which is the 7.5% of the estimated budget of the work they were doing. So that's how they work. They develop their infra, they develop their resource, and they also get the livelihood support. So after completion of the program, after completion of the project, this field after they call for a uh, slum level meeting with all the households living in the slums and discuss that are they living in a slum like condition now, because no one feel happy to be addressed as a slum dweller. A slum is a derogatory address for anyone who lives anywhere. So then they discuss, now we are not living in a slum like condition, so can we propose it to the ULG to declare as in a, give us a better name, or we are no more, we should not be called a slum anymore. So after that they verify it and all the slum dwellers sign it, and then they submit it to the urban local body to verify and get an approval. Then the urban local body, through the UASRRC, the Urban Area Slum Rehabilitation and Redevelopment Committee, they do a verification, they do a scrutiny whether the all the work, all the service, basic infra are there or not. Or upon the satisfaction, they declare that slum is others colony. That should not be called as slum, but others colony. Others means the ideal or model colony. After that also, if it's been seen in everywhere, many of the slums or the nomenclature was based on their caste, based on their profession, so it's not very appealing. So then they get a chance there, which I find a very dignified thought of the mission, that there they get a chance to rename their slum as per their ways. And after that they again they call for a meeting, they give the name as per their ways, and the new name also gets submitted to USRRC, and then it is circulated to the relevant department like police station, post office, revenue office, ULG office. So that is the whole process from the slums to the livable habitat or others colony. Of course, in the field, the way we are mentioning in a row, it was not so simple. There were many challenges we had faced in the field, and I've listed 3 to discuss in a little broad way. One is very first is when this program started, the major challenge was the building trust with the STA. Because when we enter to the field in our fast go, everyone feels like some people have come, they will discuss something like providing some money or some infra, and they will go away. Like the way it was happening, to tell them we are going to work with you, you are going to build your area, your habitat or your city, was a really surprise for them. But to gain that trust and to get that support also, we had to put lots of effort, and it was nothing but the continuous engagement with them informally, formally, along with the ULB officials, elected representative. Anyway, the continuous engagement was the only solution to get this trust, and we did it. Second was Sangram sir was also telling to the infrastructure constant what we found. Of course, for the construction of the open space, parichai and all, they need some space was required. And when we say slum itself, it justifies that that is a compact structure, very high density infra. So space was a constant for all the infra, but we have figured out IHT, we face the IHT as the major constant, because we wanted to give it to each household. Though from the other missions like Swachh Bharat mission and other missions were there, were providing support for toilets to each household. There it was mandated to the access to toilet. So if there was no space, then the community toilet or public toilet option was also there. But here mission's aim was to provide toilet for everyone, because we found it is the basic and very minimum right to have a toilet upon. But of course, the major challenges, major pain points what we found was the space and the finance also. In many slums, people were not happy because they were not able to afford 15,000-16,000, which were basic or bare minimum cost to construct a toilet. Though some incentive they were getting from the Swachh Bharat mission, it was not sufficient. 8,000 were provided by the Swachh Bharat mission, its subsidy. So what the policy level intervention we did here is to provide additional 8,000 rupees, and from the Finance Commission fund, which is tied for the sanitation and water, which is available at the ULB. From there, and if that is adjusted, then from the own source, additional 8,000 rupees has to provide to the beneficiary to construct a toilet, but it has to happen in a joint collaboration. Like STA will construct the toilet so that they can get the base material and all in a cheaper rate, and they can get it. If one person is going for asking for borrowing, someone will say no, but for the committee and you will be support were there. So it has to happen through the SDA. And also we thought to provide motivator scheme also was there. So if someone is not like saying no, I can't construct those spaces there, or though financially also offered because of behavior also it was not happening, for that motivator were there who was supporting the one household to construct a toilet and supporting end to end. They were also getting a financial assistance of 300. To avoid the space constraint, financial constraint was avoided through the policy level intervention. And for the space constraint also, the cluster toilet model was designed. So that was also like, if some household do not have space near to the house or inside the house, they will be given a space inside the slum, and there the toilet will be constructed, but it will be used as the individual toilet for that household. It will be under lock and key, and that household will bear the maintenance operation, and they will use it their individual toilet. That's how we did it. Some technical interventions and some policy level interventions. Then another major challenge I would like to focus on was the limited capacity of the SDA and ULB staff. So in the initial days after gaining trust also, it was difficult for them to go to do need assessment, to do everything, because this participation was very new when this mission started. Now in Odisha, participation is a very common term, and anything that any program you will see, participation was the key and basic for the program to implement. But that time it was really new. So the limiting for ULG staff also, how to do the process, follow the process from identification to end. For the ST also it was difficult. And that time we did, of course, the standard operating procedures were developed, and the joint training to the ULG and STA, so that the community and the ULB officer both will be in the same page and works can go smoothly. We'll see the outputs and impact from slums to livable habitat. Now nearly 60% of total slums have been developed, upgraded to others colonies. 25% of the total ULBs are slum free. And like slum free means every slum has now basic infra and service, and you won't feel like slums in 25% of the cities now. Then 90% of the slum households have pipe water connections, 100% of slum households have electricity, 80% of slum households have individual household toilet. And this training and capacity building, it is continuing more as of now. More than 7,500 STL leaders have been trained on financial empowerment, how to conduct meeting, maintenance of community infra, disaster resilience, solid waste management, those things. And the trainers, out of those leaders, 50% of them were women. So that gender parity also should be there. So we call that these are the impact we gain, but to sustaining of those things also a necessary step which should be taken care of. So to do that, structure functioning of the STA was the key or major thing we did. Like if they will be strong enough, then only they will be guide or they will be the custodian of their city. So now each SDA we have developed SOP how they should conduct monthly meetings in a formal way. They should record the issues. They should pass the information in a right channel. Mostly they use WhatsApp to pass the information and to follow up on the action that was discussed in the meetings. A structured functioning was the key. Then financial empowerment. Each slum dwellers association have a bank account and the name of the association and the signatories are the president secretary. So the fund management transparency and autonomy would be there. Then formal recognition through MOU with the VLG. So every small dwellers association has a MOU with the ULB to that they should they are the custodian of the community assets. So joint management of infrastructure like road, drain, community halls, furniture, open space. That MOU is there now. Earlier, what we have seen, the STA or anyone to go to the ULB meet the official was a task, but with this MOU, they get a formal space to enter to the ULB and discuss their things. So in the table now, they also secure a chair for them to discuss and get it solved. That's a
Ankita ji, sorry, I think we'll have to kind of a bit hurry. I think it's
yeah. This is the last slide I have.
yeah.
Then the legislative empowerment also, as already discussed, the STA representation is secured in the ward committee where their recommendation are considered in ward budgets and annual plan. Yeah, thank you. Happy to take questions.
Are there major, who is looking after, are there major questions in the chat box or questions and answers? Can someone look into this?
Kirti sir, we have Subhadra Chhatoi with us, one of our community member to share her experience, how the women perspective helps.
Oh yeah, sure.
Then we can go to the questions.
Sure.
Subhadra, madam, you can speak.
Well, Subhadra Chhatoi, STR member.
କହୁନାହାନ୍ତି ସୁଭଦ୍ରା ମ୍ୟାଡାମ କୁହନ୍ତୁ
ସାର୍ ବହୁତ କଷ୍ଟରେ ତ ଆମେ ଏ ବସ୍ତିରେ ଥିଲୁ। ଏତେ ବସ୍ତିରେ ଆମର କିଛି
ବସ୍ତି ନାଁଟା କହିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ
ଫୁଲେଶ୍ୱରୀ ବି ଆଦର୍ଶ କଲୋନୀ। ଆମେ 2002ରୁ ଆସିକି ଏଠି ଥିଲୁ, 4-5 ଘର ଥିଲୁ। ତାପରେ ଆସ୍ତେ ଆସ୍ତେ 20-25 ଘର ହେଇକି ବଢିଲୁ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମର ଇଲେକ୍ଟ୍ରିକ ସୁବିଧା ନଥିଲା କି ପାଣି ସୁବିଧା ନଥିଲା, ବାଥରୁମ ଲାଟ୍ରିନ୍ ଏହାର କୌଣସି ସୁବିଧା ଆମ ପାଇଁ ନଥିଲା। ରାସ୍ତା ବି ନଥିଲା, ସ୍କୁଲ ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ 1 କିଲୋମିଟର କାଖେଇକି ନେଇକି ଯିବାକୁ ପଡୁଥିଲା।
ଆପଣ ପୁରା କହିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ, ତାପରେ ମୁଁ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଲେଟ କରିଦେବି।
ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଲେଟ କରେ, ଟିକେ ଦେଖେ କେମିତି ହଉଛି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା sir, କରନ୍ତୁ।
Ankita
ପୁରା
ji,
କହିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ,
why don't you very quickly translate, Ankita ji?
No, she is telling that they came to the place where they are staying. The basti is called Phuleshwari Basti in the year 2002. Life was horrible when they came. Now that they are staying there and all the conditions for good living have been provided by the Jaga Mission, life is much better. They are taking their children to the school. They have got a happy life. They have developed their own business and they are living a very good life. To sum it up, this is the thing, essence of what she told.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. ସୁଭଦ୍ରା ଆଉ କିଛି କହିବ ନା ଆମେ ଅନ୍ୟମାନେ ଯିବା? ଠିକ ଅଛି।
ଜାଗା ମିଶନ ଯୋଉ ଆସିଲା, ଆମର ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ସେଇଠୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା। ଆମକୁ ପାଣି ସୁବିଧା ମିଳିଲା, ଇଲେକ୍ଟ୍ରିକ ସୁବିଧା ମିଳିଲା, ରାସ୍ତା ସୁବିଧା ମିଳିଲା, LIC ସୁବିଧା ମିଳିଲା, ବହୁତ ସୁବିଧା ଆମକୁ ମିଳିଲା ଆଉ ବହୁତ ଖୁସି ବି ଲାଗିଲା।
ଠିକ ଅଛି, ଏତିକି ତ?
ଆଜ୍ଞା,
ଠିକ ଅଛି। See, you can understand that all the conditions like water supply, electricity, everything has been given to them, and it fulfills their dream of life, and they're living a good life. That's all. This is the essence. Ankita, go to next. Huh? Subhadra has detailed everything, her complete emotion.
Thank you, Subhadra ji. Kirti, we everyone has shared their views and presentation, and we can go to the closing session and question and answer for the session.
I'm extremely sorry that Das Saab, I think has disappeared. Unfortunately, I think there must be some technical problem. He's not been able to join. As a matter of fact, this is the 141st webinar, and we've never experienced this. Believe me, I was proudly telling people that our experience of losing time in this webinar series has not been more than 2 minutes. But I think Das Saab disappearing this time, I think has spoiled our record book. Unfortunately, I won't be able to kind of. It's very sorry. I'm very sorry to have missed him. In that case, all the presentations are over. I'll come back on that after a while. But Ankita ji, could you look into question answers very quickly? If they are repeating, let's not do that because we already are about 7 minutes away from completion. It doesn't matter a few minutes here and there, but I think please look into the questions, and see who wants to know more about what's happening.
Yeah, thanks. I can take. The first question was that from Jagannath Mahanta, that how what governance reforms could take place, help to address these challenges, and how can India scale up such successful state-led models and losing community-driven nature. So of course, from the beginning, everyone is saying if you will put people in the front, and the policy will be designed in that way. People should not be considered as the beneficiary, rather they should be the implementer, they should be the need identifier, and putting people in the front, that problem can be solved. Another point is the convergence, because for any program and projects, fund is also a critical aspect to be looked at. So if you are talking about slum upgradation and basic infra or services, that was the government or the municipal body's job is to do that. So if we will see convergence, then that is also a solution, and it can be scalable to any state in India.
Ankita, I'm back. Can I add one or 2 points to this?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. So, sir, for scaling up this type of initiative, 2 things are very critical. One is that the state level policy, which has helped us also, and I think such type of things can help also. And most importantly, how the policy will be executed. And for that is very important is the political bureaucratic will, as well as that the standard operating procedure, so that everywhere within a state you will have a uniform execution approach. I think these are the critical factors also to scale up to other states also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For Sangram sir, there was a question on toilet, but I think it has been answered. Another question was secure tenure quota. Any ideas or update from Odisha? So,
like what?
Secure tenure, how land rates it secure tenure, or any ideas or update on that if you want.
Well, security of the tenure is one of the most important tenets of Odisha Land Rights to Slum Dwellers Act. This act supersedes all acts of the Revenue Department. That's the reason there is a lot of deliberation even after doing this. How the Revenue Department are going to rectify their records. It is the bone of contention lies with the Revenue Department and the HMD Department, actually to settle the score and keep the land record straight in the name of the persons or the allottees. In the name where it has been done in the name of land certificates. Now, land certificates have to take the title of record of rights in the revenue department. That's a big work with the interdepartmental coordination. This will happen, and never ever one should believe that land entitlement land certificate once given by H&U department will ever be superseded by any department, but because this is on the basis of an act. So hereafter one should believe this is a government's work, department work in between two departments. It will happen. So land once certificate is given is secured once for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Another question was on the relocation. So in some cases, slums are relocated for reasons for vulnerabilities, areas prone to flood, cyclone, etc. So it's been mentioned that there are about 3,000 slums in Odisha. Has there been a vulnerability study in the locations before implementing the Jaga machines?
So the vulnerability study was made, and 34 slums are supposed to be relocated out of 3,000, which is very, very nominal. And it opens the eye that if you go for in situ settlement, relocation will be very minimal. If you want to go for relocation because of expansion of railway land or expansion of railway lines or the lands which are cannot be settled because like dangerous conditions of living, etc., then a set of three land availability will give into the slum people, which will be very close to their workplace and which will be to their choice. 80% of people give the consent to be relocated to that place, then things will work. So relocation is a question of few and far between, and which is not a thing to be debated very often, because once if you go for relocation, then there will be a lot of litigations. So to make in my opinion, relocation should be the last in the scheme of possibility. So relocation in Odisha has happened, is going to happen in 34 places, out of which virtually 11 places work is already over. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I just add Nikita, Ankita, can I add one point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, please.
Yeah. So vulnerability assessment in the context of the natural disaster prone, as well as the water stagnation, and also the locations where it is being settled, like if it's next to a environmentally hazardous place. So that basic analysis has been done, but if you are thinking of any advanced analysis, that has not been done. But basic analysis has been done wherever, because of before the settlements has been done. So those analysis has been done. Thank you. Thank you, Ankita. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I think the last question is for the organizing team to think through. It is about the certificate for the participants. We can take it later. Yeah,
we will look into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Shishir Saab is back. Shishir Saab, do you want to say anything?
No, sir, I think with this discussion, I think if someone wanted to understand more about the context, more about how it has been done, so please contact us, or please, because we wanted that disseminate this information, and also we wanted that how this can be also replicated in other places. A document has already been prepared, process documentation that has been prepared, which can give you the realistic views, and even all the government circulars are also been compiled into this. So one can take this document and one can start executing this also. And so that's how I think we can do it. And now over to Kirti sir now.
Just one line, Kirti sir, just one line. Sir, when we talk about adaptability or scalability or applicability to anywhere else in the world, think that it's not a exact replica of Odisha's model. It is always, it's not a straitjacket. It has to be contextual. It has to be at least thinking in this line, but can be changed here and there, and thing can be done. So that's what I'm saying, that it can be refitted, it can be reimagined in the line of what we have done here. So we cannot say that what we have done is the ultimate best thing in the world to happen, but we can say that it has happened. If you want to see how it has happened, you can contextualize it in your own context. Thank you, sir.
Fully agreed, sir, because this is one of the model, but many models can be built, many successful things can be built, but this is just to see, this foundation has been laid. So that's how we have done it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shishir Saab. I'm sorry that we had to disappear, but let me kind of come back on this, the last thing, Nayak Saab. The entire position for doing this 6-event webinar series was this, that for the last 75 years across the world, we've been trying with ideas and models and solutions and all that. This looks one very near, which looks, I think, approachable, doable, viable, upscalable. And I'm very glad that you added that, it's not to be kind of picked up, as it is, that, I think it has huge amount of, flexibility has to be there. And I think you got to kind of, fit it in your own context. But fact remains that, this particular program has many elements, put together, which makes it very attractive compared to any others. And I think, that needs to be said. That's number one. Number two is this. I just wanted to make a small announcement before I forget. And that is this, that the sixth and the final episode of this 6-event webinar series was supposed to be on 18th November. And I am trying to inform all of you that we are shifting that date. We will not be kind of doing this webinar on 18th for various reasons. But the most important reason is this, that we need to sit down collectively, all the organizers, think about it, reflect on it, and do two things. One is how to do the final concluding session. And secondly, how do you take it further? And that, it appears, may not be possible in the next week's time. And therefore, but we will announce well in advance, we will announce in an effective manner when is that taking place. But I don't see, it will take at least a month or so. So that is something that I thought I must inform all people who have been religiously following this discussion. Third thing I want to do is, and I think I'll be ungrateful if I didn't do that, was to thank personally with the names all the 7 people who made today's webinar. And that, of course, starts with Shishir Saab. Shishir Saab, sorry we missed you for a short while, but it's been enormously, I think, engrossing and interesting, the manner in which you provide information, manner in which you conduct. Nayak Saab, everyone tells me that, you are the Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya, and it's absolutely fitting. I've heard you before. So thank you very much for not only coming here, but enlightening us, with all that you told us. So tremendously useful. Anand Saab, no one expects, a theoretical framework in a webinar like this, but you've done it indeed very successfully, and it was very well. It was very highly educative. It was also very contextual. As a matter of fact, I'm very glad it came almost at the fag end of this webinar series, because it weaves everything together. Those 8 cases that you put together, I think, it weaves everything very beautifully. So thank you very much. Ankita ji, even though I was a bit impatient and kind of nudged you, but believe me, yours was the most important presentation because it provided nitty-gritty of how it's working. And providing this nitty-gritty is the main principle, main objective of this webinar series. We want people to know not only what has happened, how it has happened. What kind of institutional mechanisms have been put in place? How is the financing is working? What kind of problems you face? What kind of challenges you met? And you did very beautifully. I would want to kind of pick up your slides and learn from you. It's terrific. Thank you very, very much. Srinivas Saab, you've been very emotional, and I like it. I rarely see a retired government officer being very emotional. And I think that reflects your commitment, that reflects your engagement, that reflects how you have enjoyed it and how you contributed to it. So thank you very much. Uh, Arjun Bhai Saab, thank you very much. One of the most important part of this webinar series, one of the most valuable, one of the most, which has really brought in enormous amount of richness, is the feedback we have got from the community leaders and community people. Continuously, I have not heard one single person, and this is not because they've been selected, but the program has such effective, it has enriched your life so convincingly that there is nothing else but what you say. And thank you very much, Subhadra ji. I very much like that you prepared and come in a lovely new sari as if you come to Karsa. And I think this was the occasion we wanted you to come prepared and dressed. And thank you very much for what you said. I don't really have time to kind of, go through, but so many wonderful things have been said. And I just wanted to pick up 3 or 4 in just 1 or 2 minutes, very, very quickly. One is this, and I think as Nayak Sahib said it very beautifully, that we are not only talking about no eviction. He said we are also talking about very little relocation. And for poor people, this is very important. And I think when you talk about such about 34 cases out of 3,000, it only means you've been very, very effective, you've been very thoughtful, you've been very considerate, you really weighed everything very well. And very fact that you kept this particular thing to that smaller percentage speaks very highly of the sensitivity, of the flexibility, openness, that program has. I also wanted to kind of touch upon 2 or 3 things. And I think Anand Sahib brought it very beautifully. Believe me, and I think this is my experience of working in slum for the last 55 years. If you promise no eviction to slum dwellers, believe me, they don't want anything else. Nothing else that they're looking for. That we will not uproot you. That we will not throw you out. That we will not, I think, make you homeless. And that we will not destroy your meager assets and what you have house. That's all they're asking for. And I think that is the most important contribution of all the 8 cases that Anand Sahib has presented, but I think the most significant contribution of this particular program, where it's taken that as a starting point, that we want to develop this program, we want to provide good houses, we want to provide good services, we want to do this, we want to do that, but we want to ensure that they are not evicted, that the fear of eviction is removed from their hearts and from their minds. And that is a very significant contribution that has happened, and I think it's very important. The reason is this, that I think, I've written time and again, evictions solve no problem. Evictions create, I think what I time and again call a new sort of homeless people of the city. They takes away, I think, their heart and soul from city, and it destroys them. It destroys not only their housing, it destroys them completely. And therefore, I think, going away from evictions has been absolutely wonderful. I also wanted to kind of very quickly mention, and I think this come time and again, the whole process of empowerment. Every single community person, community leader we have heard, they sing one song. Even if they don't sing, that is the song we hear of the kind of empowerment that has happened. That they have started realizing themselves. They started looking at themselves as legitimate citizens. They started thinking about demanding and asking. and they started singing. And I think this is good for the government, that there is a response possible. And that's a very, very important thing. And I think Srinivas talk about dream becoming realities, and I think it's not something that happens every day, and that's something that doesn't happen every day to the poor people, and that we are allowing them, that we are facilitating, that we are empowering to kind of see that their dreams are fulfilled. It's a big thing. And the last thing is this, that and I think this speaks volume about this program. And I think Ankita ji brought out very beautifully this whole upgradation process, 8-step process that she talked about, starting from identification to delisting to completion of some upgradation processes. I think the kind of institutionalization that has happened, that is the one which will not only ensure that this program continues and succeeds, and I think covers remaining percentages, but it essentially can go to some other place, that it could be replicated, that it could be adapted, that it could be taken up and with minor modification here and there. That institutionalization is a hugely important and positive step of this particular program. So with this longish sort of summary, going beyond it's 5:13. Thank you very much, everyone, again. I'm sorry we are not doing it 18th, but we'll come back certainly with more content and better analysis. And thank you very much for those who are present. And thank you very much, for all the 7 people who came and spoke and enlightened us and enriched the whole context of the webinar series. And thank you, my colleagues, for providing wonderful support to this whole process. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You.
Thank you.